Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Michael Breus, the sleep doctor. One of the top questions that I'm asked almost every day from my patients, believe it or not, isn't how can I fall asleep easier? It's more what happens if I wake up in the middle of the night? How can I get back to bed? So first of all, a few things to understand. A lot of people turn to me and they say, you know what? I have a tendency to wake up somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. Turns out that's based on your biology. So when you're falling asleep, your core body temperature rises till about 10:30 at night. It hits a peak and then it begins to drop. That drop is a signal to your brain to release melatonin. Why is that important here? Because as your core body temperature keeps dropping, at some point it's got to go back up. When it starts to go back up, you move into a lighter stage of sleep. Guess what time of night that usually is? Somewhere between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. So I want you to know and understand this is biology that's getting to you. Everybody wakes up at that time, just not everybody has difficulty falling back to sleep. Okay, you've got a little bit of difficulty falling back to sleep. What are you gonna do about that? I can tell you what you shouldn't do. First thing you shouldn't do is you shouldn't look at the clock. Now I know this is gonna be a tough thing to do because everybody looks at the clock and then they instantly do the mental math and they say, it's 3 o'clock now, I've got to get up at 6:30, sleep, 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 and they try to force themselves to sleep. I'm gonna be honest with you, sleep, it's a lot like love. The less you look for it, the more it shows up. What I mean by that is you can't try to make yourself sleep. In fact, the best thing that you can possibly do is relax. So if you could, do me a favor and don't look at the clock. I'm not so foolish as to think that that's really gonna work with you because almost everybody looks at the clock. So let's talk about a couple of other things that are important for you to understand. Another thing is we've now learned about something called non-sleep deep rest. This is where you're lying in a position, it's dark, it's quiet, you're not moving. Turns out this is a bit rejuvenative. It's not exactly like sleep. About an hour of that is worth about 20 minutes of sleep. So don't worry if you're lying there and you're still not falling asleep, it's okay. You're getting some form of rejuvenation. And don't forget, we're trying to look at your anxiety here. We don't want your anxiety to increase in the middle of the night. We want the natural sleep process to be able to take over. The other thing that you really need to understand, and this is an important metric, is in order to enter into a state of unconsciousness, you need a heart rate of 60 or below. That becomes very, very important, especially if you come back from going to the bathroom or you wake up in the middle of the night and you feel your heart rate is up. Speaking of going to the bathroom, that might not be the best idea. I want to be clear about something. If you got to go to the bathroom, please go to the bathroom. But a lot of people, they wake up in the middle of the night and they say, well, maybe I'll see if I need to pee. This really isn't a great idea because remember your heart rate needs to be below 60. So when you go from a lying position to a seated position to a standing position and you walk across your bedroom, guess what? Your heart rate is up. So if you don't have to go to the bathroom, don't go. Now, if you get back to bed or you're in bed and you don't want to get up, we got to do something to lower that heart rate. My favorite technique is called 4-7-8 breathing. And what it does is it actually lowers your heart rate dramatically. Actually below 60, which is exactly where we want it to be. It's quite simple. You breathe in for a count of 4, you hold for a count of 7, and you breathe out for a count of 8. Now, I want to be clear, you don't push air in and out really hard. This is a gentle breath in, filling your lungs, holding, and then pushing all the air out. What this does is it dumps out excess carbon dioxide from your lungs, allows fresh air to come in. It means your heart doesn't have to work as hard, which means it lowers your heart rate. That's kind of what we're looking for here. So when you wake up in the middle of the night, if you don't have to go to the bathroom and hopefully you didn't look at the clock, here's what I want you to do. Remember, there's non-sleep deep rest, so you're still getting some level of rejuvenation, and you can do 4-7-8 breathing to allow your body to lower its heart rate and eventually get back to sleep. Now, one thing that people say to me is, well, Dr. Breus, what if I do 5, 6, 7 cycles and I don't fall asleep? Don't worry. Remember, number one, this isn't the only time you've ever stayed up all night long. And number two, lying there is still some level of rejuvenation. I do want to give people a few different troubleshooting tips just in case it's going for a little bit long. Number one, if you can avoid it, don't get up. A lot of people will get up, walk around the house, maybe move into a different room, even turn on a light, maybe pull out their phone or read a book. I'm really not for that. I really think lying in bed, as long as it's not too frustrating for you and you're doing that 4-7-8 breathing, is gonna be a great idea. The other thing to avoid, you might find yourself to think, well, I'm a little thirsty, maybe I should go get a drink of water. It's probably not necessary. What I would rather you do, keep a glass of water, room temperature, by your bed. That way you can reach over, have a quick drink, and in the morning time, remember, I'm always asking you to drink a lot of water anyway, so go ahead when you wake up in the morning and drink that whole thing. Do me a favor, If you want to spend more time with me, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you have any further questions, feel free to drop me a note in the comments. And if you want to learn more, head on over to thesleepdoctor.com. This is Dr. Michael Breus, the Sleep Doctor, wishing you sweet dreams.